Unraveling the mystery of the universe, Lord Vishnu says to Sage Narada, Brahman, which is basically consciousness or God, is the cause behind this universe, and one who has understood this fact can rightly be called a man of self-realization. A man being under the influence of his sensual perceptions falsely believes this world to be real and is unable to understand the real cause behind the existence of this world, which is not the case with a man of self-realization. Instead of searching without, a man should seek within, because within him exists the universe just like our sense organs perceive them externally. The whole mystery of the universe is unraveled to a man who makes incessant efforts to undertake this inner journey. For if his efforts are made with a pure heart and a firm determination, then he is sure to reach his goal of self-realization one day or the other. The soul, which is the Atman, is Brahman, or consciousness or God. But this fact becomes apparent only to those privileged few who have attained self-realization. Okay, so I'm going to break down what we just read. This is out of the Puranas. But basically, the cosmic or vast form of Vishnu, which basically means consciousness pervading reality, all throughout reality. So if you was to put everybody's consciousness in the world and put it into a bowl, and one bowl and one pool, that conscious soup would be Vishnu. But you see how it's separated through a bunch of different individuals. It's plurality now. Well, that plurality still pervading and keeping reality going is Vishnu. But anyway, he's telling Sage Narada. Narada represents knowledge being transferred from that pool to your mind, to drink that knowledge, to understand what you're looking at, which is the material world of Vishnu. So Vishnu, this cosmic deity, breaks down to the Sage Narada how it is that people get caught up in the illusion and perceive this reality to be real. There's a concept in the East and in the ancient Dravidian and Tamilian system that we call Hinduism of a concept called Maya. Now, when you watch The Matrix, this is where you get the whole concept of the Matrix from. Maya and Matrix, same thing. But basically, how we perceive from day to day this reality to be substantially real is because of our sensual perceptions. Now, sensual basically means five senses, but it also means sensual, meaning sexual. And we're going to break it down because your five senses and sexual are highly connected. It's highly, they go hand in hand. You can't have one, basically, you can't have sex without your five senses. Sex is what invokes your five senses, and we'll deal with that. But it says, a man being under the influence of his sensual perception falsely believes this world to be real, and is unable to understand the real cause behind the existence of this world. Now, the first line says, Brahman, or consciousness or God, is the cause behind the universe, and one who has understood this fact can rightly be called a man of self-realization. Now, let's break this down. Brahman, or consciousness, basically represents imagination. So what it's trying to say is, the first and original being that you were before you fell into many incarnations or many generations until you are in the body you are in now, which is innumerable bodies and innumerable lifetimes. And we're not talking about, like I said in many other tapes, many other videos, reincarnation, dealing with it in your ancestral line, all from your mother and father all the way to God. That is the incarnation we're talking about. So it says that Brahman, or that God, that consciousness, which is what I'm trying to tell you, is imagination. The word Brahma represents creativity or imagination. So remember, this whole reality was created with what? Thought first. So what thought was that? That thought was basically that Brahman, or this God, did not want to be alone. It was disturbed in many aeons by a void, a deep darkness or a void. So it decided to split itself from itself and cause itself not to be able to know itself. And that's what we today call ignorance. So every human being and every animal that's born, we're born in ignorance. That is the first imagination that the creator, or the creative force called Brahman, caused or brought forth in the beginning. So when we talk about the Big Bang, that's basically what we're talking about. all of these atoms and atomic particles, these photons and these atomic particles were all one in one big ball of light. You can say is the original sun. And that ball of light, or that being of light, is your true self, but that's God. So now it exploded, and now we're all trapped in these individual bodies. But follow me, it says that Brahman is the cause behind the whole universe, and one who has understood this fact can rightly be called a man of self-realization. So you have to understand that imagination is what created this whole reality. Imagination is what's creating it as we go on. So let's break it down further. It says those who are trapped under their sensual perceptions, they cannot perceive this. Those who are under a sexual impulse, that trapped under these sexual desires and sexual impulses, these sensual impulses, they cannot understand this. So that's why from birth until death, most humans, especially in the Western world, they never realize God within, because they're trapped under the sensual perceptions. Their whole life, from birth all the way to, let's say, the end of high school, is all preparing them for the world, for males to get money and resources to get a wife or to get a woman. And for females, from birth until high school, they're prepared to be a wife and to and after high school to be a wife to a husband. So all throughout the different stages of our life, it's all geared and it's all orchestrated for us to basically engage in a sexual act. Whereas imagine if from youth all the way to adulthood to high school, we were prepared to deal with spirituality. We'd be taught totally different things. Our reality in the West would be totally different. But you have to understand that not everybody can get realization of self. Not everybody's going to get realization of self. It has to happen in stages for different individuals. Like it says at the bottom of this script, it says only those privileged few. So that's who I'm hoping to reach, is the privileged few, not the masses, because the masses will always procreate and keep reality going, or this false reality going. But going back to my point, what I was trying to explain is that imagination is what created this whole reality. So from the original being, it was Brahman. It was gender neutral. It had no gender. It decided to split itself and become ignorant of its own self. And that becomes in the mythology Brahma and Saraswati. Saraswati represents knowledge. Brahma represents creativity. So whenever the lower beings that they created under them, it was because those two came together for a moment. So Brahman, creativity, and knowledge created different stars, different star systems, and we call that sacred geometry, mathematics, so on. So we're not talking about human beings at all. We're talking about cosmic and divine, almost uncomprehendable beings. And they are the foundation of this whole reality. Now they're the same in the Egyptian, the Hebrew, all of the different spiritual systems, the same deities that were created as polarity or duality from the one consciousness. And in the Kabbalah, that system, they have it as Keter, and then you have which is Ayin Sof, which is at the top, is the one God, the one consciousness. But it splits and it becomes Kokma and Bina, the great creator father and the mother of knowledge. And her name is Kokma. You can see Kokma and Bina. So that's the tree of life. But in the Hebrew system, not the Kabbalah, but the ancient Hebrew, they would say El Elyon and Asherah or Atharat or Emet. She has many names like that. But Kokma as well is one of her names. So that's the Hebrew. And you go on and on in every spiritual system. So what I'm saying is Brahma and Saraswati. And understanding that myth will help you understand how our reality came about. Well, those two, whenever they mate, whenever they able to find each other and mate for a temporary time, they create whole universes or create star systems. And what Saraswati is hydrogen gas. What Brahma is the atom that's inside of it. So when you go to Egypt, you have Atum or Atum, and you have Ma'at or you have Mut. So you have Ptah and Nun. You have all of these different same cosmic mythological parents in all of the spiritual systems. So I got to take you back into mythology to help you understand these texts, because that's where their concepts are coming from. But basically, as you go from all the way from the Big Bang, which is from the black hole to the Big Bang, then to the what's called the nebulas, the sea of hydrogen gas. Then you move to stars. Then you move to younger stars. Then you move into the sun. So I'm showing you the generations of creation in reality. This false reality that we're in. It's all based on God's imagination. So we went from the top all the way down to the sun, and from the sun you get basically the planets, and then you get the planets, then you get the Earth. The Earth, now you have the earliest beings that were on the Earth, basically are microorganisms. You see what I'm saying? Like what's they called? Eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell. Originally, it was nothing but prokaryotic cells. They basically represent your titans, or basically your early primitive microorganisms. And we deal with microbiology here. And they infected the seed, and they began to grow and evolve. And then you have what you have: insects and all of those types of animals, and marine bottom dwelling animals. And from there, you get reptiles and then amphibioids. Now we're moving out of the water and we become amphibioids or amphibians. And those amphibians and reptiles become mammals, small mammals. Those mammals become bigger mammals, and so on. So you can see this in the 8 incarnations or 8 avatars of Vishnu. You got Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narashima, Purusharama. I'm sorry, wait. You got Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narashima, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Kalki. So those are the incarnations. So as you look at the avatars, you'll see that they'll go from animal state, the fish, to the mammal, to the primitive human, to human, and then spiritual human. Well, that's basically what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to speed it up for you, help you understand how we got here. So all throughout those lifetimes and all throughout those many generations, we were under the illusion of procreation, because the first thought was, I'm alone and I need something to not be alone. And that creates the illusion. But you have to understand that illusion comes with a price. There's suffering that comes with that price. So this philosophy, I'll be breaking it down way more in depth in the future, but follow where I'm going here. So what happens is, from generation to generation, from where you are now, when you're born with all of the vasanas. Vasanas basically mean ancestral memories. All of the vasanas, or ancestral memories, and the vrittis, which are mental imaginations that are from your ancestors, your parents and their parents and their parents and on. So you have samskaras. You have vasanas, vrittis, and then you have samskaras. Samskaras are pain and suffering and addictions and negative principles that you get from your ancestors. So all of that is ancestral memories. Vasanas, vrittis, and samskaras, they all inside of your DNA or your genes, and they come online on your brain and in your mind through your hormones naturally. So the sexual perceptions come on obviously through puberty, and those sexual hormones is what cloaks the veil of illusion over your mind and over this whole reality. So no one is able to see beyond the veil and get liberated, because their impulses and they're being attracted or seduced by the external world. That's what sex is being attracted to the external world. Because remember, I said the original being that you were was not male or female. It was within inside of itself and had only knowledge of self. It was an absolute bliss and consciousness, but it became disturbed or became it started to vibrate because it became void, or it became what you might conceptualize as the emotion of being alone. So everything that you see is an illusion. It's temporary. Within 1,000 years, almost half the stuff that you're seeing, or even more than half the stuff you see, has been transformed to become something else, or is dead. So we living in a continual illusion. All the people that you know in your life is going to be dead within 200 years. Everybody and everybody you've ever seen in your life is going to be dead by the time, about 200 years from now. So none of this really even happened, other than scrapes of memorabilia passed on, or genetically, or DNA, which you put on inside of your children. But you have to understand that DNA is bondage. It keeps them trapped here. So the point is that those who are trapped under sensual perceptions, they cannot get self-realization. Under sexual perception, they cannot get self-realization. Why? because your Atma, or your soul, was always within you. And you can never grab anything. It's like grabbing for dust. You can't really grab anything in this external world. So if you go into this world, you become it and you mix with it. So that's what we call that procreation, having a family, having children, having a lineage. You get caught up in that web and that net. But if you go within, you're able to go back to the original state you were before all creation. So when you're born, let me repeat it again, when you're born with many levels of imagination, many levels of creativity in your mind. But the only creativity or imagination that you need to tap into is God. Because all of the other imagination or thoughts come from your ancestors, and they're going to be sensual or sexual, you see. So you have to choose. Do you want these lower desires, which are these lower thought realms, these lower places on your nervous system? Or do you want to invoke and go and take all of your blood and take all of your energy and all of your efforts into realizing your true self, which is beyond the illusion of who you are, who you were born as, and the illusion of this whole physical world, or Maya. It's like Neo, and this will summarize all my points. Is that you see in the Matrix, the main thing that they knew that could trick Neo and test him to see if he was ready to get liberated was the lady in the red dress. So for females, do vice versa. I guess it'd be the man in the red dress, or basically just flip it around for females. But for males, it would be the lady in the red dress. It made him look external and not look within. You see, so that's all that we're participating in. And those genes come from the Matrix. They come from your ancestors. So all of the desires that they wanted in one of their lifetimes is what you want, but you don't know it. It's just you naturally attracted to it. So there's a reason why animals, like a certain animal, like lions, are attracted to the lioness, but a male human is not attracted to a lioness. You see, it's a reason why a male rat is attracted to a female rat, but a human male is not attracted to a female rat. It's because those rats have vasanas and samskaras and vrittis inside of their mind, and their hormones invoke seduction and attraction based on their ancestors' desire to not be alone and to act, basically. So all of the different animals were trapped in our species based on attraction. And even when you deal with races have different things they're attracted to based on their blood or their lineage or their DNA. And there's nothing that they can do about it. It's inside of their genes. So now that I'm telling you that your desires and your impulses don't come from a freedom or liberty from the highest God, but they really come from your ancestors' attachments and their bondage and their attachments to this world. So those thoughts or that realm keeps you trapped in this physical world to keep be born. You're born ignorant, and then you live another 60 to 70 years, some of us 100, then you die again and you're reborn, and you're just constantly going on, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Your condition does, the longer you go being ignorant of what? God. Of the truth of what this all really is. And it's nothing but, like the Matrix said, it's a projection of what? The original mind. And where is the original mind? It's inside of your soul, right here, inside of your heart, inside of your nervous system. It's like a needle in your spine. It's energy. Science calls it energy, atomic particles, but the East, they call them anus, which are atoms, but they call it Brahman, or consciousness. And it's not just in your spine, it's also in the black hole. That's where where all of this started, you see. It's in every atomic particle that comes from the rays of the sun, and from the food you eat, from the air, from the wind, from the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air. All is consciousness, all is thought. So we in a soup of thought right now, like a dream. It's just a very dense dream. The lower you are in these worlds, remember this is the third dimension. You have the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, 6th dimension. The higher dimensions you go, the less dense the dream becomes. So what I'm telling you is either you're trapped in this physical, dense reality because of your ancestors falling down here and being attracted to the external. They find something polar to attract themselves to have an experience, because that's what the original consciousness wanted. That original consciousness is called Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna means without any qualities. Meaning it's not black, white, yellow, orange. It's not up, down, left, right. It's not heavy. It's not light. It's basically uncomprehendable. It's pure consciousness and bliss. So that Nirguna Brahma has no qualities. Guna means qualities.
But we're in Saguna Brahma, and we do Saguna things, meaning we are trapped in a world of qualities, or fat, tall, short, skinny, likes, dislikes, dualities. We're trapped in this duality, which is called Saguna Brahman. And that means the God that's of quality. So this whole reality is God, but it's the lower form of God when it fell from its knowledge of self. And you are that Saguna, or that fall. You are that fall that has to reach realization of yourself by going within. And so with that, hopefully the analogy of the Matrix makes sense. But I'm going to read one more line out of this, and I'm going to bring it to an end. It says, the whole mystery of the universe is unraveled to a man who makes incessant efforts to undertake this inner journey. For if his efforts are made with a pure heart and a firm determination, then he is sure to reach his goal of self-realization one day or the other. The soul, right, like I said, is the Atman. The Atma is Brahma, or God, or just consciousness. But this fact becomes apparent only to those privileged few who have attained self-realization. And remember, the only thing that blocks you from getting self-realization from generation to generation, but this is the moment you need to take advantage of, this life you in right now. But the only thing that distracts it, or is a veil, or the illusion from you realizing this, is your sexual thoughts from day to day. It's really simple. And remember, when I say sexual thoughts, I mean the desires of your ancestors. Where are your ancestors? They're the genes and the DNA that's trapped in your intestines and your lower gonads, like your spermatozoa and the female's eggs. That's your ancestors. That's what got passed on from generation to generation, DNA. So they're invoking desire, and desire brings what? Ignorance of what? Your higher self, which is in these higher glands, not these lower glands. So with that, hopefully you're able to take this inner journey for yourself, and able to escape the illusion of Maya of this world. Peace.